Welcome to the Gameminder Report. This is Jeremy with something a little bit different this week. First off, let me apologize for several things. One, we have not had a show in a couple of weeks. You will understand why shortly. Number two, I am coming off of a cold, so if I have to cough or my voice sounds bad to you, that is probably why. Third, I will be working off a script this week, which is something I don't do very often. You will also understand why shortly. So before we get started, let me set up the irony for you. This morning, we launched Gameminder for Ouya. Getting this version of Gameminder out the door was a fun challenge, and if you're just learning about Gameminder from the Ouya world, welcome. We're happy to have you. So if you're listening to or watching this show, you probably know that the stated goal of Gameminder is to track every upcoming video game so that gamers don't forget to play that next great game they are waiting for. It was a good way to keep a handle on AAA titles like BioShock Infinite, whose ship date kept slipping, but it was also a tool for grabbing info on that little indie game that wasn't going to ship until it's done. And probably would not have had the marketing budget to compete with the big names when it finally did. And if you're a Gameminder user, you've probably also noticed that the data in the system has been growing more and more stale since around April 1st. Which was officially the last day we could no longer afford to pay someone to manually curate the incoming game requests and reports. A lot of the info in Gameminder is updated automatically via several tools we've built, but the nature of what it is that we are trying to catalog means that no automatic tool will ever really be good enough. It has always been our goal with Gameminder to eventually move to a crowdsourced system of data management. Users will be able to add, edit, and vote on entries in the system, Wikipedia plus Reddit style. The new backend we launched in December has support for this, but the front-end support has not yet been built. There are 3 different clients, a fourth now if you count Ouya, web, iOS, and Android, that would all need updating to make this happen. In my mind, a game's Gameminder entry would be 1 part Twitter stream, 1 part Facebook fan page, 1 part Wikipedia entry. The whole thing would be powered by users dropping in content Pinterest style, with entries voted on like a Reddit and funded all by an in-house advertising and affiliate game sales. I still believe that a system like this is possible, but unfortunately it's looking less and less likely that Handelabra will be the ones to accomplish it. This episode of the Gameminder Report is going to go a bit behind the scenes to explain Gameminder's current situation, and the reason is that it's very likely, unfortunate as it may be, that Gameminder as a service might be going away. And I wanted to explain to the community why that is, and also to have this serve sort of as an official request for help. Handelabra, hang on one second. Handelabra, and therefore Gameminder, is almost completely out of money. We used quite a bit of it rebuilding the original Gameminder system into what it is today, the system that launched in December. This system has been in place, this system has in place the scaffolding to handle a lot of the features that I've listed above, but we simply don't have the cash or resources to realize the full dream, and I have been incapable of drumming up enough of an investment interest. So background-wise, some numbers for you in case you were curious. The Gameminder app has been downloaded around 160,000 times across iOS, Google Play, and the Amazon App Store. There's also been upwards of 51,000 unique visitors to Gameminder.com for a total new user number of just over 200,000. Our active user base, which we define as users who have actually signed up for an account and set a reminder, is just over 27,000. Those 27,000 users have set more than 420,000 reminders for an average of 15 reminders per user. Gameminder currently only makes money when users buy games through the website or app. Our 2 affiliate partners are Amazon and the iOS App Store. To put it all on the table, affiliate sales from the App Store only drive about $60 to $80 a month in total revenues. Amazon is even tougher sell. The majority of Amazon sales are pre-orders, which means we don't get any money until the game actually ships. And even so, months with games like Halo 4 or BioShock Infinite, in other words, heavy pre-order sales months, still only top out at around $100. To put this into perspective, the hosting costs alone for Gameminder's back-end system are usually in the $150 per month range on our hosting platform, which is Heroku. So clearly the system itself isn't even at break even, and that's before taking into account the ongoing costs involved with the manual curation of data, which is still necessary until the user content creation and voting is actually fully implemented and ready for prime time. And it also does not cover any ongoing development. The failure on this front is mine, and mine alone. When I started Handelabra, I envisioned GameMinder as a simple utility app. It was something to track video games I wanted to play. As we got feedback about how people wanted to use it, I allowed the concept and the time spent on it to grow far beyond its ability to support itself financially. I allowed myself to believe that the GameMinder story would parallel the Twitter story and the Instagram story and the Facebook story, that we would have investors lining up to fund us at a loss while we built out the next great social games discovery system. With thoughts of turning a profit at some point down the line. We've also expanded the GameMinder name into other areas. This podcast, obviously, being an additional tentpole for the GameMinder concept for almost a year now. This is episode number 42. And just last month, we threw the GameMinder Expo at the Launch House here in Shaker Heights with more than 150 in attendance of local gamers and developers. But what's the point? Well, as we're at the end of the runway here, I've decided it's time to reach out to the community to see what our next move should be. GameMinder is just one of the products made by Handelabra, but is far and away the most financially draining. Ironically, the app Reminder has become our biggest seller, and it was only developed as a way to take the GameMinder concept in a more generic direction while expanding the Minder brand. Most notably, our other apps don't have any ongoing costs associated with hosting in the way that GameMinder does. Most of our other apps are one-off apps. They are downloadable chunks of code. Once you've got it, you're done. We don't have, aside from support systems, we don't actually have to pay for hosting or any other sorts of things. They are also notably sold for money, which GameMinder is not. So what are the options? The first, simplest, and least useful option will be simply to kill it. We flip the switch on the GameMinder servers, pull the apps down from the stores, call it a fun experiment, and that's that. The GameMinder report might continue in some form or another, but it would be strange to have it continue at least in name if the GameMinder app and site are gone. Another way would be to sell the entire system, lock, stock, and barrel to the highest bidder. If you think you can take GameMinder from what it is and turn it into what it can be, please get in touch with me by visiting GameMinderReport.com/contact. Over the life of the service, we've had several conversations actually with potential purchasers, several with the name game, the word game prominently in their name, but all of these talks have fizzled. Yet another option would be to crowdfund continuing development. As the main failing of GameMinder appears to be the business model currently, giving people an opportunity to pay for the service directly might work out. Now, I have no idea what people would be willing to pay for what GameMinder does. For the majority, the answer might be nothing, and that's certainly fair. We've explored this option before, but there are several gotchas here. The first is that GameMinder is close enough to a social network that we would likely not be allowed on Kickstarter. There are other crowdfunding tools, of course, but Kickstarter is certainly the most well-known. Second, running a good crowdfunding campaign is a full-time job in and of itself, and as I've already said, we are severely limited on resources right now. Another option would be to open source the whole thing and hand it off to the community. If you're interested in helping in this regard as well, please get in touch by visiting GameMinderReport.com/contact. So, excuse me. I jumped into the deep end of the pool when I decided to take GameMinder from simple iOS-only app into global video game tracking system. I made a bet. Not only that the idea was a good one, but that I had the ability to manage the building of such a system, and it appears that I have lost that bet. But the fight isn't over yet. I've met a lot of you over the last 3 years at events like PAX, RTX. I've met a lot of developers. I've met gamers. And generally speaking, you like GameMinder and you like what it does. If you don't want to see it go away, now is the time to act. If you have any ideas whatsoever about how to keep GameMinder from ending, whether it is a thought for how we might find money, whether you're a developer, whether you're an investor, basically anything, whether you're brand new to the system from Ouya, whatever it is, please get in touch with us by visiting GameMinderReport.com/contact. If things continue as they are, GameMinder will probably go off the air. The GameMinder report will probably go off the air, and GameMinder system will probably be shut down sometime in the month of May. And that's it. I hope if you've got any information or any thoughts that you will get in touch with us at GameMinderReport.com/contact. Thank you for listening, and as always, don't forget to play.